So Uranus in early Aries, what we're seeing on the visible level is revolution in the suppressive Mideastern world. We're seeing empires fall apart and dissolve. And we're seeing amongst a particular generation of people, we'll call it the Facebook generation, a tremendous desire for change. And that's going to continue. And it might just be, and I think it was Chiron's prophecy, that not to worry about Iran, there'll be a revolution in Iran soon enough. And Iran has always looked, from biblical prophecies, from the book of Daniel, and from the standpoint of the American military, Iran is the danger place on our planet. Even Saddam Hussein thought he was the reincarnation of Nebuchadnezzar at one point. It's true. Well, you have to listen up to these things. You know? So, and in Kabbalah, it's Chokhmah, which is the right brain hemisphere. So that's another shift that's happening. We're moving from a left brain culture of memory and language to a right brain culture of visionary consciousness, where we're living in the synchronicity web or the resonance field. So, if you look carefully, we're moving back towards an acoustic culture now. Unfortunately, it's a little bit on the electronic side, but ceremony is going to move back towards indigenous acoustic ceremony. So that's Uranus. Pluto, as you know, how long ago was it, Michael? 2.5 years ago, when Pluto went into Capricorn? So that Capricorn gateway for us is the gateway of resurrection. In astrology, 0 degrees Cancer is the gate of incarnation, and 0 degrees Capricorn is the gate of excarnation. Like leaving the body or going back and connecting with the spirit world. So when Pluto got to that point, Pluto being the lord of the underground, the lord of the shadow karma of humanity, that which is lingering from past actions, that it creates a tremendous pulse towards powerful unraveling. Well, that is now happening to all social institutions, to all economies, to parts of the earth where there's karma that needs to be rectified, all of that. And Pluto's sitting at about 7 degrees right now of Capricorn. It's going to go retrograde shortly in April. And in about, how many days, Michael, will it be for the Sun to be square Pluto? About 5 days, something like that? Check it out. I've done that memorized that. So that's a power shift. That is a regime change of sorts when Sun squares Pluto.
How long will that last?
Pardon?
Yeah, on the
28th.
The day of the Jupiter Sun.
Right, so that's good because we've got a Jupiter-Sun conjunction. Yeah?
Jupiter-Uranus having opposition on the same day as the Pluto-Sun square.
Pluto-Sun square, okay. So Pluto-Sun is one thing, but coming up later on the 11th of April, Mars will be square the Sun, will be square Pluto. And those are the two malefic planets in old astrology, right? Mars is energy, and Mars is energy going out in a challenging way, and Pluto is energy collapsing in. That looks a little bit volcanic to me. Think of a volcanic eruption. Now, one of the notions with what's happening on the Earth is that there are changes going on in the iron core, or the crystal core. Some people believe there's a crystal of iron. And there's changes in the magma structure. So earthquakes aren't one-of-a-kind phenomena. They're part of what's happening with the tectonic plates shifting on a magma core, and based on where we are in our orbit of the Sun in relationship to the galactic center, that is heating up. So earthquakes, we can't really moderate that much, though Tesla had an idea that we could. And one of my beliefs is that as Uranus gets further and further into Aries, the supplanting zero-point energy inventions that many inventors have had that have been suppressed by oil companies and the vast vested interests on the planet, those new initiatives have to come forth now, and they will. I know people who know the inventors of zero-point energy. In another year, anybody in the Kootenays will be able to buy one. Probably about February of 2012. I wish it was sooner. But obviously right now, what has happened in Japan is going to put the mute button on nuclear. It has to. Nuclear cannot be seen as a green energy anymore. It just can't happen. So that's a positive. There's a tragedy of loss of life involved in it. And I'm praying that what Edgar Casey saw with the total dissolution of Japan is no longer necessary, but it might be in the cards. There have been channels who have seen a different kind of Earth. Years ago, there was a man, Edmund Harold, came through Toronto, and he shook us all up with the visions that he had. The problem with Edmund was that he was such a good consultant for everybody that we had to take what he saw seriously. It may be that some channels are like prophets, in the sense of a biblical prophet is somebody who says, based on the karma of the present moment, this will be the result. So then it's a kind of a projected collective nightmare to get us to change how we live our life and to swallow our shadow so that we can change reality. And we're moving into a time now where what we think, what we feel, and our actions are so creative. It's just unbelievably creative. So we can't afford to even be flippant unless it's for the purpose of, releasing fear and releasing tension. Might have a picture. So, Pluto. Now, Neptune is about to go into Pisces. Hasn't happened for, 166 years, something like that? It's real soon, yeah, Michael? Mm-hmm. And Pisces is a bit of a mixed bag. And what's going to happen is that you're going to have, fundamentalist Christians wanting the rapture to appear. And you're going to have the dissolution of a lot of the Piscean, I'll call it neo-mysticism. That's going to begin to dissolve. Now, we've just had 7 years of changes in water on the planet, right? We've had the tsunami, we've had the oil in the Gulf, now we've had the earthquake and the tsunami, seaquake going to Japan, and simultaneous with that, we've had polar ice melting and another chunk of Antarctica broke off the same day as the Christchurch earthquake. So we are having a melting of the poles, but it's not global warming. That's just that's just a fabrication. It's not that, aerosol spray and hydrocarbons. There's something else happening with the melting of the poles. And you know what? It's probably a good thing. Given all the pollution in the water and the vortex of plastic out in a couple of oceans and radiation that's leaked into water, we need that pure glacial water to come. And as human beings, we've been like what in Brazil they call the ant people. We've been building our condominium structures on the edge of the oceans. Yes, it's great temporary happiness, as the Buddhists would call it. Temporary happiness. Living in your little condo, looking at the ocean every day, but it's not the time for that now. We'd be far wiser to take the Hopi, or the Taos Pueblo advice of learn to live with armadillo medicine close to the earth. Build yourself an earth resonance chamber. Tune in, lay low, because some of the atmospheric pollution isn't going to be a lot of fun. And we want to be able to be in touch with the voice of Gaia, the whole earth grid. So I think Neptune in Pisces will simply be a tremendous opportunity for the expression of an extraordinary amount of compassion in a time of tremendous chaos. And it will mean that we will be learning how to share and love one another and be in community like nobody's business for the whole time, for a long time to come, Neptune. And one of the things that's happening here is that there's the resurrection of Atlantis, because 28 degrees, 29 degrees, harmonic convergence, and what I'm calling the galactic convergence, which would be the 2012, is the energy that's buried underneath the Sphinx. So that energy in the Hall of Records of what were the cycles before ours, before Sumeria and Greek and what we know in our history books. They had technology, they had energy. If Drunvalo's right, some of them were living in crystal caverns underneath the earth or underneath Mount Shasta, and so there's this whole energy that is still part of our planet, that's kind of in hiding, and in a certain sense they want to come out to meet us as well. See how complex? I mean, it's beautifully complex. It's like a woven symphony of energies. And there's, right now there's scientists thinking they found Atlantis in Spain. Other people believe that it's underneath the Mediterranean. There's another theory that Atlantis is basically underneath Antarctica because the whole mantle shifted, and when Antarctica melts, Atlantis comes up. David Wilcock, maybe the reincarnation of Edgar Cayce, he believes that it's Bermuda Triangle and Cuba. And it's likely that land will rise offshore Britain, and land will rise in the Caribbean in time to come, and there's other places where land goes down. Okay? So there's going to be some big geophysical shifting, and that's all part of a period of time, which Michael will talk about coming up, lasts for a number of years, when Uranus will be square Pluto. That's about as big as it gets, Uranus square Pluto. That's when the forces of magnetic field changes, and the force of change is up against the weight of karmic detritus, something like that. And it's in cardinal signs, so it has to. It's not like you're going to change your consciousness. In astrology, the cardinal signs do things. The magnetic fixed signs absorb things, and the mutable signs spin their consciousness around it. Okay, that's the cardinal, fixed, and mutable. So when you get like these outer planets squaring in cardinal, something's going to give. Something's going to change. Now, how much time we got left? 20 minutes? Half hour? Okay, good. So let's have a look at the new moon chart coming up.